Mumbi Haigi, what's up? Shiko Masharia, or is it Mashara? Or is it Mashara or Masharia? Welcome indeed. I just want to say thank you so much for coming through. For those that are watching me live on TikTok and live on YouTube, I don't take it for granted. I can see SRH, Top King, what's up? I want to say thank you so much for coming through. Let me just adjust this very. All right, now we there, we good now. Let me just adjust that so that we can be good. Machwani Wanam, Top King, how you doing? Thank you for coming through in the camera, live on TikTok. We here on Tuesday. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say, if you're joining for the very first time, it is always a pleasure to get to have some time with you. And please remember, every Tuesday, every Friday, 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. East African time, I'm always here trying to make sure that we get rejuvenated, healed, transformed, and made whole. If you're a gentleman and you're listening to me, I want you to be a part of this conversation because it's going to tackle so many issues, especially for the gentlemen of this generation. Please be a part of this very conversation. And for the ladies, please, if you have brothers, if you have sisters, if you have even fathers, uncles, whoever you can call a male in your life, please be a part of this conversation too, because I'm going to be giving you ideas on how we can get a transformation that is going to enable us to get into the depth of what life is. So in order for us to just structure everything, I just want you to understand we have our platforms. You can go to www.salimcyrus.com. It's a platform whereby you can go purchase my books, get so much of what I really talk about in various platforms. I can see Anne, I can see Shady, GB, Eva, Hilwa, 7990, Moremi, Rebinganga, Polyga. So if you're watching me on YouTube, thank you so much. Much love. Sorry for that. Much love and karibuni. Ayana or Anaya, Polygal Anaya, Boyens, Kit by Kit, Kerubo, Kevril, thank you so much. Is it Kevril? Thank you so much. Mom Shicks, big up to yourself. I want to say thank you so much. All right. Linetalian, Jacinta Nongo, Teresa Silantoi Rose. Is it Silantoi leaf or flower? Tifa, thank you so much for joining. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just don't want to waste time. I want to make sure that we get to the topic of the day and we get to structure this. I can see Ima, Mama, is it Renee Ndongo, Mama NJ, thank you. At Dr. JC, Mama Mose, Ima, Jenny Friday, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate indeed. Thank you so much. I go by the name Salim Cyrus. Those are my government names. Those are not just names I gave to myself, but they are my government names. And I just want to say it's quite an experience indeed when it comes to what people really want to learn. Lino, Caroline Jelaga, Lynette Lina, and favored one, Karibuni Sana, I appreciate indeed. So if you're watching me for the very first time, in this very platform we talk about issues on relationships, issues on spirituality, issues on life, and we get to tackle in various areas. We tackle issues where men are involved, where women are involved, even children. Those are the things that we get to tackle. And today we're going to talk about mental health crisis. Today we are going to talk about mental health crisis. That is the topic of the day. Each one of us, I know, we've been in a situation or places we've never thought, and our lives were kind of messed up because of certain situations, and we felt like we can just lose ourselves in the moment. Depression came about, stress, and every other kind of situation came about. Please, ladies and gentlemen, you can share this live. Let it reach as many people as it can, so that now it can get to as many, all over and all over. So, and another thing I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching me on TikTok, you can watch me also live on YouTube. And my YouTube handle is Salim Cyrus Connect. Salim Cyrus Connect. So let's delve into the topic of the day so that we can build something in the next very good hour, we can make something out of what we are learning. I know it's Tuesday, and most of you guys, you're from work. You know, some of you are listening to me probably when you're in your car, you're somewhere chilled, in your business, and in whatever place you're doing, whatever you're doing. I just want to appreciate. Thank you for tuning in, and just anticipating to get to watch me every other day. I just want to say thank you so much, and I appreciate so much. So every Tuesday and every Friday from 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. East African time, that is the time that we get to have a moment of these kinds of conversations. So remember, we talk on issues of understanding spirituality, understanding the marketplace, and also understanding the issues that affect relationships and marriage. Those are the things that I tackle in this very platform. And if you want to learn more, once again, you can go to my website, and the link is in my bio or on my bio. You can just get to click on that link and please get to learn. www.salimcyrus.com. That is what I do the very best to make it clear for each one of us. So let me just big up a few people who are watching. I can see Sigira, Nasra Kayanga, Shelly 254, Geoffrey Apenya, Jen underscore Cairo, and who I can see some stars, who has joined. Thank you so much for coming through. I appreciate your love. I can see Shiro. Shiro, hi. Hi to you, Shiro. Thank you so much for coming through. I can see Hilda Williams. Big up to you. Purity K. Asante sana for coming through also. And if you're watching me all the way from Tanzania, Rwanda, Zanzibar, Congo, South Africa, and every other place in the world, Canada, America, UK, and Ethiopia, every other place that I can't mention right now, but you're watching me, Karibu, welcome. Thank you. We are a family. Yvonne Kiyoko 737, Zeki, Asante Sana, Alice Wamoyo 57, Giving Givia TV. Is it Giving Givia TV? Okay, thank you so much. Lois Kaganya, Asante Sana. Thank you for the love. I appreciate indeed. All right. The topic of the day, mental health crisis. The mental health crisis. The mental health crisis. I just took a moment of silence because I've come to realize that each one of us, it is a struggle. We cannot say that it is an issue that is affecting only men, and it is an issue that is affecting only women. But it is an issue that is affecting our community. It is an issue that is affecting society. It is an issue that is affecting the religious. It is an issue that is affecting even those that are not religious. Because depression, stress, and whatever we call mental health is an issue that affects each one of us, and it doesn't care. It is just like death. Death doesn't care. When it knocks at your door, it knocks. And there's nothing, even the doctors can never do anything, because death in itself has no apology. Death in itself has no respect for anyone. I'm not talking about deaths where people try to do whatever they want to do against humanity. I'm talking about what is happening to all the men and all the women in the world. So the other day, I think a few months passed, I was just doing my errands, and I met with this lady on the way. And one of the things that caught my attention, this lady was just standing on one of the highways. And the water that spills from the rain, and it spills from, I don't know how to put it, but I saw this lady putting her mouth close to the walls of that very bridge and trying to sip water that is coming from we don't know where. So I had to make a stop, and I had to take water from, I had some bottles of water. I had to take water, and I had to give to this lady. So I stood for a minute to check on this lady and get to understand what she's feeling and what the problem is. Society can be very harsh and it can judge you harshly, especially when a man gets to stop a lady of this kind who is going through these kinds of issues. And let me tell you, that lady said nothing. And I realized society has branded this kind of people as people that lack common sense. In Swahili, we call them wenda wazimu. In Swahili, we call it wenda wazimu. I'm trying to look for an English word. I think an English word, we can call them people that, are retarded people. But that is not the right word to use. Because also society has made these kinds of people to appear as if they were, cast at some point, that someone threw something to them. But I'm here to deconstruct that ideology and bring a sense to us so that we can begin to see these people differently. Let me give you an example. Have you ever been in one of your streets, walking from your home and going to work or doing your daily businesses, and you get to find these people on the way, and then one of the things that happens is that you meet with one guy who is putting on like 1,000 clothes? But people don't want to participate or get involved with these kinds of people. And we've branded these people as retarded, cursed, people that lack the ability to have something that is of worth in this world. But the reality is, these people are not retarded. They're just going through a certain kind of process that each one of us has not taken responsibility to put our best foot forward to take care of them. Once again, I want to repeat and say, this thing is like death. It can knock at anyone's door. Today it can be you, today it can be me. It doesn't care. We laugh at people who are paralyzed. We laugh at people who seem to be kind of retarded. We laugh at people who kind of look crazy out there, but at the end of the day, we have to realize that the things that we do sometimes, they are very close to us. That which you fear that will happen to you too soon, very soon might happen to you. Because this is life. So we have to stop branding these people as crazy, as retarded, as people who have nothing that is of substance. What am I trying to say? People are going through crazy moments of life. People are facing things that they've never thought. And that is why it is important, ladies and gentlemen, to take responsibility to ensure that when things are supposed to be made whole and complete, we are the ones that need to take responsibility. I want to make it clear to us that it is your responsibility and my responsibility to find a better way of doing things, because people are going through something. So the issue of mental health crisis has become a pandemic, but so many people are not talking about it. Today, East African time, in the morning, I was just listening to one of the popular radio stations. And this man called in and he was saying that he was in a very toxic relationship. And the mother called him and told him, you know what, son, just pack a few of your clothes and come back home. And it is quite unfortunate. The man said, if it was not for my mom, I don't know where I could have been. Because the man was talking about a situation that he could not talk about. Men are going through tough times in this life. Women are also going through the same. Some of you, you are in relationships, but you don't know what to do with yourself. Because at the end of the day, it is all about what you want to prove to your partner, materially especially. Because that woman seems to be kind of beautiful and kind of, presentable. You think because you love her, you might never find another. But because you are ignoring the very red flags, you are losing that ability to stand and have something that is of substance for yourself. And that is why you get to find statistically, men are 10 times most likely to commit suicide. Men are 10 times most likely to commit suicide. So today's topic, it is all about creating an awareness. Mental health crisis. A pandemic that has cost a lot of people peace, time immemorial. It has made people lose their ability to stand, their ability to capture productivity in their life. And that is why most of the time you get to find people not having a way of focusing on what is truthful, on what is productive. And that is why in this moment, if you're watching me, both on YouTube and TikTok, I want you to understand one thing. It is not a coincidence. How many of you, you're still surviving in toxic relationships? You're trying to prove yourself in that marriage that does not give you happiness. Your wife does not respect you. Your husband does not love you. And that is when, my dear brothers and sisters, you're trying to look for yourself, but you can never find yourself because the environment is toxic. The woman wanted to be married, but she thought she was going to be married to a perfect partner. As a man, you wanted to marry that young lady, but you thought you're going to marry a perfect human being. But people are not willing to take responsibility. People are not willing to take the initiative to walk through and work on what is productive. And that is why the essence of becoming, the essence of belonging, the essence of walking and working towards something that is going to bring prosperity is not evident. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to create this awareness and let us know that it is indeed a pandemic, mental health crisis. So we have to understand that the modern relationship, in a relationship intended to be a sanctuary, has increasingly become a theater of high stakes performance. And that is why so many people cannot have substantial, efforts into making sure that the relationship works. My dear brother, I'm talking to you right now. You know very well that lady doesn't love you. You know very well that woman does not respect you, does not value you. You know very well that lady does not take the initiative to be of support to your dreams, to what you want to achieve. You're married to a woman that prays a lot but does nothing. You're married to a woman that speaks words of purpose alone, but can never act on those things. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not a coincidence that today you're listening to me. Most of you are struggling in those relationships. My dear sister, you know very well you don't love that man. You know for real that man is taking you through issues of life. That man is making you feel like nothing. You are incomplete. That man is not loving you right. You know it, dear sister. But you're still talking about it. You're doing nothing about it. There's a couple that is trending right now that they're saying that the husband unalived, the lady And one of the things that is being told from that story is that they just came, all the way from America on all the way to Zanzibar to enjoy themselves. Look at what is happening. People are going through issues of life, my dear brothers and sisters. But if you cannot take responsibility, you will find yourself losing the essence of life. So for many men and many women, the home is no longer where the armor comes off. It is where the weight, especially for the man, it is where the weight of it becomes heaviest. I've talked to many men, they don't want to go back home. I've talked, even today, I was talking to a young man and he was telling me, bro, I can't go home. There's no spark in my relationship. I don't want to go home to my wife. My wife, she's not that, complete enough to make me get to enjoy that marriage. Every time I get close to my wife, she insults me. Every time I get close to my woman, the kind of food she prepares, it's totally insane. I heard this man say, I cannot bear to stay close to my woman because the kind of treatment that I get from my wife, I am not happy, my brother. The other day I was just talking to this other man, and I chose today I'm going to talk about mental health. And this young man told me, Salim, niligongewa. I had 2 children with this lady, but another man came and took advantage of my woman. My woman fell in love with that dude, and today they have a child. And Salim, look at my photo. Look at these 2 photos. I wish I can show you guys. Look at these 2 photos. There's totally nothing that I can value. There's nothing for me, bro. There's nothing for me. I was almost dead. But look at me right now. It is because of not losing hope. That is why I am here. And as I was talking to that young brother, I realized that most of us, we are in denial. Most of us, we are in denial. You are in the house, you stay in the house for many hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 10 hours. You sleep only during the day because at night you cannot sleep. Why? Because at the end of the day, what you're doing, you are only covering up your ability to become, because you are suppressed, stressed, depressed. There's nothing that is of value. Your mind is almost going bonkers because at the end of the day, my dear brothers and sisters, you've lost that ability to become. What we are doing, we are witnessing a silent epidemic. I call it a pandemic. A mental health crisis fueled by the paradox of being needed for everything but known for nothing. Look at what the government is doing. The other day I saw young people fighting in the streets, and one guy was questioning them, what is wrong? They were fighting over 100 shillings. Today I was just watching 2 men on one of the social platforms. 2 friends, good friends, they were fighting over a woman. The issue is not about fighting over a woman. The issue is not about fighting, over 100 shillings. It is about how the environment is very toxic. We also get to see even our kind of government, our kind of presidency, how toxic it has become, especially in Kenya. And that is why people are in denial. And most of us, we are damaged inside and we don't know what to do. My brothers and my sisters, most of you, your hearts are broken. You don't know what to do because your woman left you, your man left you, and you feel like it's not going to happen. But I'm here to tell you that it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. Whatever you're going through, it's gonna work out. Yesterday I was watching one of the television programs, in fact on one network. It was on news, and I was watching this man. Thieves came and stole, computers, all the electronics in that very shop. And I love the fact that that man was very positive. Despite what happened to him, he was crying and he said, we start again. We begin again. Those were the words that I picked from that man. We start again. Despite him crying, he just said, we begin again. Despite what you're going through, my dear brothers and sisters, despite the pains that you're feeling within you, you always need to remember that you need to start again. What are you going through? What are the things that you're facing? Remember, you need to understand that life begins every day. Life begins every day. Let me sip this glass of water. So let me go to point number 1 to craft this very message and bring it to our attention so that we can build on something here. Our society has made it, for us, has made it it to look like we need to have everything in this life. And many people are striving and struggling so hard to get things in order. But the problem is all these things that people are desiring to have, all these things, what people are fighting to get it. I can see Shiro's Cartel saying hello to you, Shiro's. I want you to understand that whatever society is trying to display, especially this generation, the microwave generation, that you can get anything very quickly, you can get it any day, anywhere. You can marry a white man and get your life together. You can marry a wealthy man and get your life together. And that is why I keep on telling my brothers and sisters, you need to be very careful. You need to be very intentional when it comes to making decisions in your life. When it comes to proving yourself and working towards that which is grounded to positivity. Because if you really want to have something for yourself, there are things you should allow, and there are things you should fight to get and receive. There are things that you should pursue. There are things that you should seek, so that you can find that ability to think straight and think right. So point number 1, the silent burden, the be strong fallacy. The silent burden, the be strong fallacy. I know I'm talking to a generation right now, millennials and Gen Zs. I'm talking to most of you. And you know very well, most of you really understand what I'm talking about. You try to prove yourself by trying to show people that you're very strong. You're trying to prove yourself by buying things, buying expensive things, buying, you know what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, you're only losing what you should stand for. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make it clear to you. There's nothing that can be of substance if you cannot focus on what is productive. So society has long demanded a version of strength that is synonymous with emotional numbness. What do I mean with that? So society wants you to be strong. That is why when a man cries or when a boy cries, the father will always tell the boy, suckle up, keep quiet. And when a girl cries, the girl will be brought close and be told, it is okay, mommy, it's okay, mommy. And we need to be very careful on how we raise our children. Is it okay for a man to cry? Yes, it is okay for a man to cry, because there is a place of crying that enables a person to think straight. And crying in itself at some point tries to tone down some things and issues of life. But my dear brothers, I don't want you to play strong anymore. My dear brothers, I don't want you to play strong anymore. We've been strong for so long. For our women, we've been strong. It is a high time we reveal our true self and prove ourselves. Is it a space of trying to show that we are weak? Is it a space for us to prove that we cannot do it? No. You're not less of a man if you cry. You're not less of a man if you can't. You're not less of a man if it cannot happen. You're not less of a man if things don't go the way you wanted. You're not less of a man if you lose everything in this world. You're not less of a man if you don't have money. But the reality is, you need to focus on what is positive. You need to focus on what is productive. So society demands a version of strength. And that is why most men are struggling to become. Most men are unaliving themselves. We are deleting ourselves from this world because of the situations that we find ourselves in. Your wife asks you what is wrong. You say, I'm okay. Your wife asks, what is happening? What do you say? It's okay, I will sort it out. It is high time, my dear brothers, for us not to play strong. It does not make you weak. It is only a wise woman, an understanding woman, that will be able to carry you through, help you and support you and say, I've got your back. I've got your back, and I will do anything to help you, baby boy. Not these kinds of crazy military women who have nothing to show and prove. Not these kinds of women who are so materialistic that they cannot take responsibility to also get a hold of their men and support them. I'm talking to women of substance, women that are divinely put and positioned for greatness in this world. So we have conditioned men to believe that to feel is to fail. When we get to tell our men that, you know what, you have to do this, you have to make this right. And that is why most of the time we do not emote our feelings. We don't bring out our feelings. What happens to us? We are trying to prove how strong we can be. We are trying to show that we can do this, that we can put these things into perspective. But the reality is, nothing is of substance if we cannot speak about it. And that is why silence is destroying so many relationships. Silence is destroying so many people in our society. Silence is destroying so many women and so many men. Look at the percentage of men in the streets. It's bigger than the percentage of women. Because men are 10 times most likely to be, in the issues of mental health, to be, to unalive themselves, to commit suicide and all that. Men are 10 times most likely to do that. Why? Because men have been taught not to express their feelings, not to express their way of becoming. Reason is, this is not biological. It is a structural defect in our cultural blueprint. That is what our culture demands. Men are supposed to be strong. Men are supposed to go and, and provide. Go out and do something and bring it on the table, while women sit at home and gossip. And that is what they've told men. And the woman of today, a bigger percentage, I've talked to some of them, they're telling me the only thing that is stressing me, I have a boyfriend who has no money. But I know there are women who are going through crazy times in this life, crazy moments in this life. And have you ever known one thing? That even in marriage, when a man has no money, the wife will go to the husband, you know what, we need to buy this, I need this and that, I need this and that, without caring about the mental health of that man. Do you care about your husband's health? Do you care about your father's health? Do you care about your brother's health, your sister's, your uncle's health, any man in your family, any man in your life? Do you care about their health? And that is why this conversation has come in this very moment, so that we can structure something and build something that is going to bring sanity in our way of thinking. So the emotional suppression is men are taught to store their trauma in the basement of their psyche, in the basement of their hearts, in the basement of their minds. Men have been taught to store their trauma, to store their pains, to store their issues. And that is why most men are not talking about what they're facing in this life. And that is why men have been taught they need to go to war and fight. And that is why majority of the armies and the militaries and all the watchmen and all the people out there are men, because men have been taught that crazy jobs in this world belongs to them. And what happens to men? PTSD. That is what they experience. That is what they face. And the people don't care about who they are, about what they need to do to structure something for what the man has been facing indeed. So men are taught to store their trauma, to store their pains, to store who they are. So only for it to eventually flood the entire house. And that is why most men are struggling to love women right. My dear sister, do you know why that man is not loving you right? Sometimes he doesn't know what to do. Sometimes the demands are so much that he does not know where to go. That he really is thinking of what he can put together to bring substance, to bring structure. And unfortunately, it's not happening like so. So what happens? People lose their way of becoming, and people begin to lose themselves in the process. So the provider paradox is this: a man's value is often tethered strictly to his utility. So when a man has money, that is when his value is seen. And many people don't want to commend them when he has nothing, because when a man has nothing, no woman wants to talk to him. Even the men themselves don't want to talk to the man because he lacks financial stability. So a man is only praised when he has something in his pocket. Even the wives of today will only praise their husband because of what he has in his pocket. The car they're driving, the bed they're sleeping on. But they don't know what to do. Thank you, Missy. So it is quite unfortunate what is happening in our society. Our children are suffering every day. I just saw a lady who has been beating his child, traumatizing that young boy until the community came together. Just here in Kenya, I just saw it today. And you know what is happening? That is what is being expressed. Those are the silent traumas, silent pains that people are facing. And as I conclude with point number 1, I want to give us a story. And I want to share my own story so that we can begin to understand what I'm talking about. So this is what I want you to understand: the provider paradox. A man's value is often tethered strictly to his utility. When his doing is more celebrated than his being. So whatever he does is what is celebrated. When a man brings home something, carries a bag of goods, comes with a beautiful car, buys a house and all that is what a man is being praised, rather than who he is as a person. And at the end of the day, that is why you get to see men will build empires. At the end of the day, it is only the wife and the children and the people that are left behind will enjoy. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that is of purpose. So he becomes an instrument of provision rather than a partner in intimacy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what is happening to our men. And the men are becoming an instrument of provision. A man does nothing, cannot be celebrated. Oh, this man has to do this. This man has to do that. He becomes an instrument of provision. You need to provide. You need to do this. Brothers and sisters are bringing us to this very attention, that men are in danger. And I was reading this very verse from the good book, and it told me that the enemy is after the one that pisses on the wall. Who pisses on the wall? Who urinates on the wall? It is the male figure. So the enemy is after, unaliving or destroying the male figure. But the enemy is after enslaving the women, because the enemy wants the women to cry, the women to be, to be in a position of slavery. But the male, what happens to the male? The enemy wants him dead. The enemy wants him dead. And we need to be careful. We need to arise and have something that is of substance. So the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. That is a quote from the one Henry David Thoreau. The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. So what do I mean? This is the truth. Strength is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of it. So I was reading the book of Joshua, Joshua chapter 1 verse 9. Be strong in whatever you're facing. Be strong and confident and very courageous. Do not be afraid or dismayed, whatever you're going through. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go, for Yahweh is with you. So you have to know the command is courage, which requires the presence of fear, not the denial of it. And now this brings to my story. 2018, I think 2017 indeed, I met this young, beautiful lady. This young girl that I thought that I would share life with. And I remember it was something that was out of this world. And I really wanted to have something that is beautiful, something that is forever, something that is amazing, something that is great. You know what I'm talking about when you get into that love story? But I remember, in 2019, when I had planned everything and I had put things into perspective, and I knew because of the plans I had, I'm going to have a great relationship. Lo, things changed, and my life went the other side of the world. In that very moment, I began to see the reality of who a person can be. That is the time the person that I thought would love me for who I am began to change, began to think otherwise. I remember the church was involved, and that is the time the church became a demon. Church became a stronghold that could no longer do anything for me, because now the victim became the one who victimized, the one who is a victim, I don't know how to put it. So the one who was going through hell now was considered to be the enemy of progress. I lost it, brothers. I lost to a yam for a moment. I lost to a yam for a moment. And I couldn't see the light of the day. Long story short, I lost that relationship. And I went straight to depression. I lost everything. The things that I used to do, the job that I had in 2019, I lost it. The friends that I thought were my friends, I lost them. The things that I thought that were of value to me, I lost them. Ladies and gentlemen, I found myself living in Kibera. Is Kibera a bad place? No, I'm not talking about the place. I'm not against the people. I'm against the environment itself. And I'm telling you, I was in that environment. And I stayed there for 1 good year. For 1 good year in that very environment. And I never knew that I could find myself in that very place. Thank God, at least I met a few people in that place. And I never knew that you can have good-hearted people in such places. But while I was still in that place, depressed, not knowing what to do, My mind was almost going bonkers, and it was so crazy for me. And let me tell you, I began telling God, I cannot be here. I cannot continue being here. This is not what I need to, I'm not enjoying this space. Do something for me. I remember those nights I could just get out of that house, that madhouse under tin roof, and go out and just cry. Go out and just cry. And ladies and gentlemen, what I didn't do is to lose hope. What I didn't do is to lose hope. And today I look back and I say for sure, despite what happens to each one of us, you can still come out from that very place of curse. From that pain, you can still arise and have something that is of substance. You can still grow and get it right with yourself. And people who despised you, they will begin to see the sunshine. And people who despised you, they will get to see a greater deal and a greater purpose. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it is a high time for you to realize that the beauty of this life solely depends on how positive you are. And let me tell you, the other day a friend came and told me, Salim, why don't you go to church? And I told him I don't need church to get well. I'm not bitter with church. I'm not bitter with church. You can go to church. But I knew there are things I cannot get it right. And I knew my heart needs God more than people around me. My heart needed to be stronger enough because God was a part of me more than the people that were surrounding me. The church betrayed me. The church made me feel like I was on the wrong. And let me tell you, I don't want to mention that church. It is a well-known church. But let me tell you, whatever I experienced was crazy. And I've met so many men and so many women in these churches. Do you know a bigger percentage of them are depressed, stressed, compressed, suppressed? They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go to. They don't know how to make things work. Because, I'm telling you, because the church has betrayed them. And it has become something that is so rampant in our society. So today I look at bishops and pastors. I don't care about them. They're just but men. I respect their offices, but they're just but men. Why am I saying this? Because of the so many people who are still depressed and the church is taking advantage of them. Religious institutions need to change. I want to let us know that we can still arise and have something for ourselves. Let me go to point number 2. The relationship as a battlefield. The relationship as a battlefield. So as I was giving that story of mine, I remember there were days that I could try to make things work. I was trying to push for things to be calm. I was trying to allow things to have a safe space so that the relationship can grow and the relationship can have something that is of substance. But unfortunately, nothing came out as I desired. So many men feel they are walking on eggshells in their own homes. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand one thing. That the only way you can get to find substance, that the only way you can get to find purpose is when you're willing to structure yourself in what is productive. Most of you, my dear brothers, you're not enjoying your marriages. You don't want to go home, like I said. Most of you sisters, you know very well, you don't know what to do with yourself. You don't know what to do with yourself. And that is why your marriages, your relationships have nothing that is of substance. It has nothing that is of substance indeed. So the lack of a safe harbor leads to a psychological state of hypervigilance. So what do I mean with that? Have you ever seen people who are trying to make things work, but it is not working for them? Because they've been condemned. Religious people, they condemn you. People who think they're perfect, they condemn you. Gossip after gossip, that is what these people are doing. And today, most of us are losing our way. Most of us cannot get it right. Because at the end of the day, it is all about what I'm going to get. So let me talk about emotional starvation in point number 2. While women often seek emotional connection through talk, men often seek it through peace and respect. Ladies, I know you love a man who can talk. Not only a man who can make you mourn. Let me repeat. Ladies, I know you love a man who can talk. Not only a man who can make you mourn. But the problem is that most ladies, they only have men who can make them mourn. But not men who can talk and bring things into perspective and bring order in their relationships. And that is why a woman that is not sensitive enough, aware enough, every time she's being corrected with the husband, every time she's being directed with the man, she'll begin to think that it is, a problem of, you think you're the one who is perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that the only way to do it right is to find that balance. Women seek for emotional connection, especially through talking, but men, it is through peace and respect. My dear brothers, today I just posted something and I said, if she cannot give you peace, if she cannot give you respect, you need to consider how you can help yourself and move past what you're getting to see in that very relationship. So what am I saying? Constant criticism or comparison acts as a slow-acting neurotoxin to the male ego. This is not an issue only for men. It is also for the women. You get to have a partner who always insults you indirectly, who always makes you feel like nothing, who pushes you on the wall and tries to prove that you cannot have anything for yourself. At the end of the day, what happens? You lose yourself. And that is why women are committing suicide. Men are committing suicide. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to me, more of what I'm talking about, you can get to listen to it on or get to hear about it on www.salimcyrus.com, www.salimcyrus.com. There's so much you can get from what I'm talking about. So emotional starvation, it is not only for the women, it is also for the men. Men are being starved emotionally. So the other point on point number 2 is the value gap. So when a man feels he is only valued as long as the paycheck is consistent or the chores are done, he begins to withdraw. Oh, ladies, if he cannot provide, if he cannot bring something, if he cannot do it, this is the kind of a man who just needs to leave. Because at the end of the day, it is all about you. You want him to bring all these things on the table. You don't care how. It is none of your business, because at the end of the day, it is all about what you are getting. So ladies and gentlemen, especially those on TikTok, if you have any question, I'll be very happy to answer. I'll be very happy to answer your question. If you're watching me on TikTok, please. I'll be very happy to answer your questions. As I get into the other point on our next part. And I think I'm remaining with now 30 minutes or so, and then we conclude this very topic of the day. So let us go to the value gap. When a man feels he's only valued when the paycheck is present, when the paycheck is a part of that very relationship. Missy, you're saying, how can I bring peace to a man? How can I bring peace to a man? Number one, Missy, you need to respect that man. You just need to respect him. When he says it, as long as it is the right thing, just listen to what he says. When he tells you to do something, stop complaining. Don't have an attitude. Respond with feminine energy. And I'm telling you, it's gonna work out. They say the only way to a man's heart is through the stomach. How do you prepare yourself? You know what I'm talking about. How do you prepare yourself? So you need to prepare yourself very well. I'm not only talking about good food of the stomach, I'm also talking about sex. Make sure your husband's tummy is full and make sure his balls are empty. That is the only way things can be. Be his support system, Missy. Be his support system. Stop waiting for your husband to initiate. Sometimes jump on your man and say, bring it on, daddy. Let me be the man who can do this. Let me be the man who can make it right. Those are the simple things that maketh a man to do anything for his woman. But women do not know this secret. Your man is delaying to do some things for you, my dear sister, because you don't know how to treat a man. You don't know how to love on a man. So the only way to bring peace to your man, to your man, number one of it all, is when you find peace within yourself. Missy, when you find peace within yourself, when you're okay by yourself, when you're at peace by yourself, when everything is okay inside of you, I'm telling you, it's going to work out. And there will be structure, there will be substance, there will be hope, and you're going to achieve it. So I want to talk about the identity crisis. Hope I've answered you, Missy. Any other question, and I'll be very happy to answer. So point number 3, the identity crisis, the modern tightrope. The modern tightrope. So modern masculinity is currently caught between two contradictory demands. Be the stoic protector of the 1950s and the emotionally transparent partner of the 2020s. Ladies and gentlemen, have you noticed one thing, that the men of today, most of them are having this kind of feminine energy? Have you ever noticed that? Oh, sorry. Missy, how can I get a man hooked? How can I get a man hooked? This is what I can tell you, Missy. A man who wants to be hooked is going to be hooked. You don't force yourself to make a man to be hooked to you. No. A man who is emotionally available for you is going to be hooked to you. Because a man only provides where he sees value. If he does not see value in you, that is a man that is not going to be hooked to you. So to make a man get hooked to you, there's no juju, there's nothing. No prayer can make a man get hooked to you. God is not in that kind of business. So you cannot say that you want to pray for God to make this person be hooked to me. No. What you need to understand is, if they really want to get hooked up to you, they will. So what I can advise you is, display yourself, display the prospects that you have. In other words, be yourself. Look good, walk good, be at peace once again with yourself. If he gets to see value with you and in you, he's going to be a part of you and is going to pursue that very greater cause to make sure that you get it right indeed. So the identity crisis, the modern tightrope. So modern masculinity is currently caught between contradictory demands. Those demands are stoic protector and emotionally transparent. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that the perfect way, the perfect deal, the way to make things become, it is all about you revealing yourself into what is fundamental. And that which is fundamental is understanding that so many people are trying to look for themselves, but they cannot find who they are. Most of us, we are looking for our identity in vehicles, in clothing, in houses, in money, in relationships, but we will never find those things indeed, in those things. We are only going to lose ourselves in the process, because at the end of the day, our mental health cannot sustain who we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell us that the beauty of becoming, it's all about finding who you are. So this is the double point. If he is stoic, he is cold. If he is vulnerable, he is often met with a subtle loss of respect from his partner, confirming his deepest fear. That weakness is a death sentence. So ladies and gentlemen, so you need to focus on productivity. And it begins with you. It is a structure that is from within you. It is a purpose that needs to be understood beyond just words. So the other point is internalized pressure, which is all about the identity crisis. Most of us, we don't know who we are. Do you know your purpose as to why you're existing? Do you know where you come from? Do you know the things that you're supposed to have in this life? Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that if you do not know your purpose, you're going to be destructive. A man who does not know himself, he will always put women in trouble. He will always have relationship problems if he cannot contain himself, if he cannot subject himself to what is true. And that is why it is important every day, brothers and sisters, to pursue abundance. And this abundance, it is all about doing what is just. So internalized pressure. Men often measure their worth by their ability to solve problems. Men often measure their worth by their ability to solve problems. Ladies, allow your man to be a man. Let him do something for you. That is what I can tell you. Allow your man to be a man. And the other thing is, allow your man to be a part of what you're doing. But most of you are not willing to do so. You don't want to do it. I'm yawning. You know, I woke up early. Let me tell you, I woke up very early. I woke up early because I was going out to just have a walk. Today I did around 7.5 kilometers. 7.5 kilometers in the morning. What are you doing with yourself? That is another way of just trying to do away with stress. Stop just eating, going to work and sitting there. Eating, going to work, sitting there. Eating, going to work, do something with yourself. Go to the gym. Go for aerobics. Do something, ladies and gentlemen. Don't just sit there. At least it's going to make your mind think otherwise. You know what I'm talking about? So stop forcing on these very issues that will make you lose your purpose indeed. So the thing is this: when they cannot solve their own depression or their partner's unhappiness, they view themselves as defective. Oh, let me do something here for those that are on TikTok. A little bit, let me just drag the puzzle. Good. There we go. So ladies and gentlemen, you know, every time when a man does nothing for a woman, that is when a man gets depressed. That is when a man gets depressed and thinks that he's lost the whole world. And then the man begins to blame himself. Then a man begins to lose himself. Then a man cannot stand and walk, on a ground that is focused on the evidences of growth. So when they cannot solve their own depression or their partner's unhappiness, they view themselves as defective. So what are you doing with yourself? Because the issue of mental health is crushing men. It is crushing women. Look at the mental hospitals. Many men are there. Doctors have decided to, allow these people to go through a process of becoming. And all these things can be avoided. All these things can be avoided. So let me go to point number, is it number 4? Yeah, point number 4. Coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms. So what are we talking about? The great escape. So Missy, you're asking a question. Is it okay to communicate my needs to... So Lina Moniz, thank you for teaching me. Thank you, Karibu, indeed. So Missy, you're asking, is it okay to communicate my needs to the man, like telling him to make time for us to talk? It is okay. Missy, it is okay to go to your man and tell your man that you desire time to talk. He should create time. Be respectful as you present that request, but allow him also to participate without him being, him feeling like he's being forced. But at the end of the day, if he's a mature man, a responsible one, he will be able to walk with you. And if he truly loves you, he's going to listen to what you want to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a crisis that we are all facing. It is a crisis that most of us cannot comprehend. I'm telling you for a fact. I'm telling you. So coping mechanisms. The great escape. Many men lack the vocabulary for their pain. They speak through actions. I understand it. I understand this, in fact. Anytime when a man cannot express himself verbally, most of the time he gets to overreact. Even over simple things, this man overreacts. He gets irritated with his partner. He gets life. And that is why men are fighting every day, trying to prove themselves. Marriages are no longer valuable because the love of man has been diminished. The love of man has been paralyzed. Oh, yes. So, because men, they lack vocabulary to express their pain, they will always express it through actions. So let me talk about point number 1, withdrawal silence. If anything I say can and will be used against me, I will say nothing. Lioness, how is you? So, what men do best, they go quiet. They don't say anything. Hello to you, Lioness. It's been a while. So number 2, overworking. A way to achieve a win in a world that feels like a series of losses. Statistics say that most successful men, they were empowered with their wives or partners' wrongdoings. They could never express themselves, so they chose to do better things more than focusing on their marriages. Beautiful little Lioness. So number 2, overworking. A way to achieve a win in a world that feels, that is the point. Men have decided that they want to go out of the world and do something for themselves. Today, men are not getting married. Today, men are not in marriage. Today, men are focusing on other things. Are you getting what I'm saying? The man of today has lost everything. So point number 3, anger. The only socially acceptable male emotion It is often just sadness with a louder voice. I repeat, the only socially acceptable male emotion. It is often just sadness with a louder voice. Oh, W Maina. W Maina, what's up? Hey to you. How are you doing, W Maina? Karibu sana. So if you're watching me on YouTube and on TikTok for the very first time, today we are talking about the mental health crisis. That is what we are talking about. Is it W. Maina? Thank you so much for coming through. So he who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. So you get to see why men try to suppress their pains, suppress their way of becoming. At the end of the day, they crush who they are. Winnie K. I've been away from here for so long. Yes, Winnie K, we've missed you indeed. Today we're talking about the mental health crisis. Mental health crisis. That is what we're talking about at Missy. So he who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. Every day men are struggling. Men want to have something for themselves, but they can't. Men have nothing indeed to focus on. Men have nothing that is precious to make them become, to make them grow or stand. So let us go to point number 5. The resolution, redefining the foundation. The resolution, redefining the foundation. Point number 5. So what do I mean with this? Healing the modern relationship requires a radical shift in how we perceive the male psyche. How we perceive the male ability to become. When you're saying men are so precious by themselves, why do they struggle so much? Because men try to prove something that does not exist. Men, stop proving yourself. Stop working so hard to pay school fees for your girlfriends before that relationship materializes. Stop doing that. Stop paying school fees for your girlfriend. Girlfriend, you know what I'm talking about. Stop paying and working so hard to do things for your girlfriend who is not even your wife. Stop doing that. So, point number 1 on this very point, creating emotional safety. So a relationship must be a place where truth can be told without the fear of being weaponized in the next argument. You know what I'm talking about? You express yourself, and then now the next argument, your wife or your husband weaponizes you and says that, oh, you know, by being against you, rather than the two of you coming together, solving that issue and making it better. What am I trying to say? A relationship must be a place where truth can be told without the fear. So for women, understand that respect is the oxygen of the male soul. Understand that the respect is the oxygen of the male soul. So I was reading the book of Ephesians chapter 5 verse 33, and it was telling me, and the wife must see to it that she respects and delights in her husband, that she notices him and prefers him and treats him with loving concern. Are you getting the point? Treasuring him, honoring him, and holding him in adoration. Balancing this with empathy creates a vacuum for him to open up. Most of you, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot open to your partner because there's nothing that you're receiving. There's nothing that is building you. There's nothing that is defining in that relationship. Please, if you have a question, I'll be very happy to answer, because I'm only remaining with 15 minutes and then I'll call it a night. So, point number 5, having the next point, which is point number 2, redefining strength. True strength is clarity and control. and control. It is the ability to look at one's internal brokenness and say, I will fix this. Are you willing to fix issues that you're facing in that relationship? Ladies and gentlemen, the perfect way and the perfect deal is when you recognize your mistakes rather than pointing at your partner and saying, you know, you did this, you know, you did this. So stop using the mistakes of your partner against yourself, against herself, trying to prove a point. No. It is quite unfortunate indeed. So renewal of mind. So the book of Romans chapter 12 verse 2 talks and says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed. Be transformed and progressively changed as you mature spiritually. By the renewing of your mind, men must seek renewal through truth, not just through more labor. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? It is important. It is very important to structure ourselves, to build ourselves, to have capacity to do that which is right. Mental health crisis, especially amongst men, is very rampant. It is very rampant. So point number 3 on point number 5, we are talking about purpose over performance. Purpose over performance. Purpose over performance. What am I trying to say? Relationships flourish when they are rooted in a shared purpose rather than mutual consumption. When a man is seen as a teammate in a larger mission, the pressure to perform transforms into a drive to contribute. So what do I mean with this? It is very important, even for those that are watching me on TikTok. It is very important that before you get involved with any person, seek for purpose. What is their purpose for being in a relationship? What was their plan from beginning? What were their intentions? Why do you want to get married? Why do you want to get in a relationship? Why do you want us to do this? The problem is most women, they don't know what they want. You give a woman good emotional satisfaction, she forgets about it. She wants financial support. You give her good financial support, she forgets about it. She wants physical protection. Topic for another day. So the point is, when a man is seen as a teammate in a larger mission, the pressure to perform transforms into a drive to contribute. So we need to be very intentional when it comes to building ourselves and to structure ourselves. So I want us to realize one thing, especially when it comes to men. We need to renew our minds. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to you even as we conclude. It is very important that we walk this journey together, that we do this together. And that is why I've provided platforms. www.salimcyrus.com. It is a platform, you can go there. If you want to express yourself, click the link in the bio. Talk to me. I'll be very able to help. In fact, very present to help. And it is very important. Terms and conditions apply, remember. So I want to close this very session in the next 10 minutes. I want to close this very session by bringing these things to our attention. That there is a crisis, mental health, that which is happening amongst men and amongst women. And these people have been termed to be crazy. They have been termed to lack the ability to think. They have been termed to be retarded. They have been termed to have no substance at all. And that is why in this particular moment, my dear brothers and sisters, I want you to know that it is important to structure ourselves, to build ourselves, to work on what will enable us to receive substance, to receive purpose, to receive clarity in everything that we do. So the crisis we face is not a lack of manliness, but a lack of wholeness. We have asked men to build empires while their foundations are crumbling. It is time to recognize that a man's mental health is the bedrock of a healthy family and a stable society. As much as mental health is important to women, and it is indeed, I think it is important we also discuss about this issue of men in our society. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a concern, and I think it is important for each one of us to build a strength that is going to help our people have something. What do you have to give to your partner? What do you have to give to yourself indeed? Winnie K, you're saying I agree 100%. Very true. So who has a question? I'll be very happy to answer, even with these very few minutes that I'm remaining with. So remember this, the man who is never allowed to feel eventually forgets how to live. So ladies, if you forget how to feel, men, if you forget how to feel, eventually you will forget how to live. You will forget how to live. And a relationship that ignores a man's mind will eventually lose his presence. If you as a woman, every time you keep on complaining about your husband, every other time, you don't want your husband to correct you, you don't want his mind, I'm telling you, day in, day out, you will eventually lose his presence. And that is why and when many relationships have ended, and because of these things are not happening. Winnie K, you're saying, I've personally learned that bottling up emotions erodes peace. We must feel. Yes, be that person that can express yourself and all that. You need to allow yourself to enjoy the moment, to enjoy that moment and make things become. Stop fighting the process. Stop suppressing issues. Stop containing those issues within yourself. No. Allow yourself to rule without complications, to guide without complications, to live without complications. And I'm telling you the truth, everything will fall in place. Ladies and gentlemen, the crisis we face is not a lack of manliness or womanliness. It is a lack of wholeness. It is a lack of completeness. It is a lack of having a capacity to have what is of substance in this society. So we have asked men to build empires while their foundations are crumbling, and it is very true. If a man cannot do this, men are struggling out there to build something for themselves, but it is not working out. It is not coming. It is not growing. It is not. It is time to recognize that a man's mental health is the bedrock of a healthy family and a stable society. So what are you doing? My dear sisters and brothers, I know you have brothers. I know you have sisters. I know you have children who are boys. And I know you have people surrounding you in that very table. What I can tell you is, you need to take responsibility. You need to pursue peace. You need to structure yourself. I think I need to read something here. It's a book from Renato Cardoso. Renato Cardoso. It is a 21 days that can change your life. Let me read something here. Where is it? Where is it? Yes, weak, soft, cowardly. What you need to understand that being weak, it is not a matter of you losing yourself. Being soft, it is not a matter of you being competent. Being cowardly, it is not a matter of losing yourself. You need to be vulnerable. You need to be vulnerable to get it right in everything that you're doing. So in the next 4 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that this life requires your mental health to be in a better place. This world we are living in, you need to have a capacity to become. You need to have a capacity to move past what people say and people do. You need to change your way of becoming, because it is important to raise yourself to have something that is of substance. Remember, no one is coming to help you. You're the one who is supposed to help yourself. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling the truth. You have all that it takes to build yourself. You have all that it takes to structure yourself. Everything is within you. And that is why in the book of Luke chapter 17 verse 20, Jesus tells these Pharisees that the kingdom of God is within you. So you have the capacity to reveal the kingdom. You have the capacity to reveal God. You have the capacity to reveal the riches and the wealth thereof. But we cannot, because we've not understood we are still under a crisis. And that is what the topic of today. We need to be very careful to make things become better and better. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to conclude by letting us know that it is not over until it is over. So whatever you're going through, whatever the experience, whatever the pain, whatever the issues of life you're facing, whatever the struggles, whatever the pains, oh, let me tell you, it is a high time that you focus on what is productive. Ladies and gentlemen, I conclude by letting us know that the issue on mental health is something that is happening in our society. Remember that you can get to find me on www.salimcyrus.com. You can book sessions with me and I'll be very happy to help you. You can go and click that link on my bio and I'll be very happy to assist you. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining and for being a part of this conversation. And I want to say until next time, same place, I will be very glad to help and be a part of your journey. I am Salim Cyrus, and my YouTube handle is Salim Cyrus Connect. So, ladies and gentlemen, be blessed. Good night. Winnie K, good night. God bless you all, and let's meet next time. God bless you. Until next time. Good night. Thank you, Saulino Moniz. I'm gonna follow you. Saulino Moniz. I'm gonna follow you. Thank you so much for your love, and thank you so much for everything. Good night, guys.